Hi everybody, it's Motales Dave, and I'm here to talk about today's layoff announcements. Apparently, Automotive News is reporting that Carlos Tavares, forgive me if I'm not pronouncing the name correctly, has sent out buyout notices to pretty much all of the salaried employees in North America. It might just be in the United States, I'm not too clear on that. But it's about 16,000 people, I believe, and it's a buyout offer for everybody from vice presidents on down if you're salaried. So not plant workers, but salaried employees, really. It's one of those buyouts where it's like we're looking for a specific number. And we don't really look at your performance. We don't look at your skills. We don't look at whether we can do without you or not. We just want to get rid of a bunch of people quick. And why is this? Well, some people are speculating it's because of the recent cut in profits from North America. But I do have to point out that Stellantis North America made more money than any other Stellantis region or division. I think that these were planned before. I think it's all part of the way that he works. He really is slashing costs. Whether you say that he's very wise in preparing for a recession that might never come, or whether it's part of his low-cost country strategy where he tries to move jobs to places like India and Brazil where wages are cheaper, I don't know. I do know that he's cut quite a bit from France and Italy, so this isn't just a Americans bad thing. This is nothing to do with Americans as Americans. This is everything to do with whether you run a company on the cheap or not. And I look at Chrysler over the decades. I'm going back with a perspective that goes back to 1904 on this company, and I've never really seen wholesale cuts helping, well, pretty much any company. I mean, you used to read about it in Business Week, didn't you? These people like Chainsaw Al Dunlop, we slash, we cut by 30%. AT&T, 30% of our employees must go. We don't care who they are as long as they go. I was actually working at Pathmark Supermarkets at the time, and we had a promotion with AT&T telephones, and it was a lot of fun sending messengers to people's houses to get their signatures on our purchase orders because they had been laid off, but their signatures were still required for us to get phones. AT&T was not ready for the layoffs. They needed them, I could argue. One could argue because they were very fat. But, the way to do this is you go through and you cut based on performance, based on skill, based on whether people are doing their job, whether their job is necessary. This thing where you just hack and slash, to me, makes very little sense, especially when you're still profitable. Okay, anyway, so that's part one, and we go over this better in the Stow Power News article, which integrates mostly Automotive News. They broke this story. They break many stories. Automotive News is a great resource, but you do have to pay to get a subscription to Automotive News. But let's move on to the other thing, dropping brands. Now, this has been going all over the internet because Tavares said, well, we weren't planning to drop brands, but we might have to drop brands earlier than expected. So he was going to give every brand 10 years when the company was all put together. Now it looks as though the 10-year pledge isn't going to really be 100%. So who's really at risk here? Now, most people on the internet are saying Chrysler and Dodge because that gets the most clicks. And maybe it's true. I mean, you look at Chrysler and, I do have a lot of respect for Chrysler. I'm an old Chrysler guy. But is the name a positive or a negative? I don't know. I don't have that kind of information. They only have minivans right now, and, they could shift those back to Dodge. But if you want to look at other brands they could drop, they could move Ram back into Dodge too. And then they've lost one brand without losing really any brands because it would still be the Dodge Ram. And nobody would really mind that, I suspect. So there's that. And there's also DS. That's the French sort of luxury small car brand. And are they making money? Are they successful? I don't know. Their volumes are low, but luxury car volumes usually are low. So they overlap with Alfa Romeo and Maserati. So the question is, which one would go? Now, I've got my eye on Alfa Romeo. They've given Alfa Romeo a lot of chances. I think it's still underperforming. There's also Lancia, however you pronounce it. They've got a new car coming out, But, they've kind of been in the doldrums for years, and we found out how good their brand was when Chryslers were rebranded into Lancias and nobody bought them when they had been buying them when they were sold as Chryslers. So they're kind of a negative equity brand, possibly outside of Italy. So they might go earlier than expected. Alfa Romeo's, I'd be looking at them. Maserati's usually very profitable, but lately they haven't been. But that might be because they've got 2 new cars on the road now. But there's also the thing of one of those cars is an Alfa Romeo that they hastily made into a Maserati. So who knows? The Alfa Romeo Tonale, that's an oddball. That's a Jeep Compass made into an Alfa Romeo, and the Jeep Compass was a wider and longer version, and I guess taller version of the Alfa Romeo Giulietta. So it's all up for grabs. Who the hell knows what's going on now? This is the latest news from Stel Power, as read by me, Dave, with my opinions and maybe coming off as a crazy old man shouting into the wind. But I will say that I have looked at Chrysler, and other companies. I mean, I have a PhD in organizational psychology. So studying organizations is something I've done, and I've really looked a lot into Chrysler history, and they have rarely cut their way to success. They've sometimes had to cut in order to survive, but when they rebound, it's because they've invested heavily in something. Whether it's a brand new car, the original 1924 Chrysler, that is the reason why we don't buy Maxwells anymore, because that's what Chrysler used to be. It used to be Maxwell Motors. But you can also go back to, after Iacocca came in. Why did they bounce back? Was it because Iacocca sold off a whole bunch of stuff and slashed costs? No, it's because they had the K cars coming out. First the Omni and Horizon, which was a big investment before Iacocca showed up. And then the Reliant and Aries and LeBaron and all those other cars. It was investment that did it. And then when they made another major rebound in the 90s, why did that work? Because they had a major investment, not only in all these new vehicles, but in the Chrysler Technology Center, the CTC. And what's happening to that building? Well, they've apparently been outsourcing a lot of testing from the CTC and from Chelsea. Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Pay somebody else's profit margin and leave your own state-of-the-art facilities to wither. So it's an odd set of things that are happening. There might be a plan. We don't know what's really going on from out here, do we? There is a lot going on inside the executive offices that we don't have access to. There are numbers that we don't have. There are plans that we don't know. So maybe this is all absolutely brilliant, and I'm a dingbat for making any criticisms. But on the other hand, maybe this is all the kind of stuff that we saw under Jack Welch and Chainsaw Al Dunlop and all those other people, Bob Nardelli at Home Depot. Maybe this is one of those things where the executives are going off and doing nutty, stupid things, and the ones out here in the wilderness observing are actually right. I'd certainly like to know, and I'd certainly like to see some of these concerns addressed and understand what's going on without the mealy-mouthed double talk that we tend to get in the letters to the employees and the letters to the investors and so forth. This is Dave signing out.